Unreal Engine 5.7 roadmap is out, and I'm gonna excitedly go over that and check out what's new and what things we could be excited about. And I'm gonna comment on the ones that I have any knowledge in, and obviously ignore and skip over the ones that I don't know anything about. Like, for example, animation and rigging, and I don't know much about that at all, so I can't really speak much on it. So I'll speak on the stuff that I know about, I'm familiar with, and skip the rest. So let's go down the lists. Megalights are going into beta. Improvements to noise reduction. That when I tried them out, the noise they caused was insane. Just unusable in my opinion. And performance, I mean, that's good because the performance was better, but not like amazing as compared to like baked. And brings support for the following features: directional light, which I don't know how you not have that. Niagara particle lights, cool. Translucency, how you have a light with no translucency support, I don't know. So finally, maybe megalights will be actually usable in some form. We'll see. Personally, without translucency before, I just said the word not usable at all, and the noise was way too high, so we'll see if it's any better come 5.7. So pretty cool. Substrate materials, which are production ready and enabled by default as of 5.7. Oh boy, default, huh? Represent a modular, physically grounded material framework that replaces the fixed shading models with a system designed for expressive control, scalable performance, and long-term flexibility. Enabled by default in 5.7. I mean, I guess they're not, if you're upgrading a project, it's not going to automatically enable it, probably, but you probably will want to enable it. Well, we'll see how that goes. It supports 2 rendering paths: adaptive G-buffer, which enables advanced features like per pixel topology and layered closures on modern hardware, and the blendable G-buffer, a simplified fallback that ensures broad platform compatibility. As long as you can still use the layered material, then we're good. Nanite foliage and skidding for nanite foliaging, excuse me, experimental. Nanite foliage is an industry-leading rendering path, okay, sure, let's call it that allows nanite geometry to collapse to nanite voxels depending on the distance from camera. So this is what we saw, I think, in the example for the Witcher game. Okay, nanite voxels for efficiency rendering foliage geometry in the distance, for buildings foliage assets using instance parts, blueprint API, skeleton measure driven dynamic wind. Ancient trees are skeletal meshes, and the new dynamic wind plugin allows the procedural wind to affect their bones. That is very interesting. Well, we'll see how this all works out. But I think this is the sort of like the demo they showed for the new Witcher game. That's cool. PCG, here we go. Here's a section that I want to see. Okay, it's production ready. It's going out of beta. It's not production ready with the release of 5.7. Okay, while the framework is in continuous development and continues to evolve, we are committed to support the stable environments all productions can build and rely on this fast, iterative procedural content generation toolset for both the runtime and in-editor use cases. Nice. This is great. PCG editor mode. A new PCG specific editor tool mode at Unreal that offers a library of customizable tools leveraging the PCG framework such as draw spline, paint or create volume with an associated PCG graph, and its parameters available for live editing. That is really nice. The provided tool-specific PCG graphs can be used as is or as examples to create and expand the library for your own needs. That sounds really nice. So you could just set up a tool, put it in here, it'll expose all the parameters, and then just draw like a spline or a volume. That is really nice. But this is awesome. I'm all for this. Procedural Vegetation Editor. I'm sorry, what? The Procedural Vegetation Editor is a new experimental plugin to create and edit vegetation meshes, supporting nanite foliage directly within Unreal. Interesting. Okay. In the initial release, procedural vegetation assets created are edited through the Vegetation Editor, a PCG-based node graph editor, using the provider importer node and skeletal presets distributed in the plugins content folder. Users can modify the tree's shape through gravity, carve, and scale operator, adjust leaves and branches distribution, assign different leaf models, and export to skeleton mesh or static mesh, including nanite foliage assembly support. We basically got PCG speed tree. That is pretty awesome. Well, that looks good to me. Asset workflows. The PCG graphs can now be executed as standalone graphs, removing the need for world context and the graph to be generated from a PCG component. This change adds support support for asset creation workflows such as creating meshes using the geometry operations, textures with GPU operations, or even generate PCG data assets such as attribute set tables by only running standalone PCG graph. And asset creation tools and plugins to be built on the PCG framework core, like the new procedural vegetation editor, and benefit from its full feature set and feature updates. I mean, we'll need to experiment and fully understand it, but yeah, I see the PCG graph, and basically it bakes those settings and you get a mesh. You generate the mesh from the dynamic mesh kind of thing, probably. I'm sure there'll be a demo or something that we can play around and see what the hell's going on, actually. To enable PCG graph standalone execution, a new is standalone graph option in each graph settings can be set to true. When this option is enabled, users have access to right-click menu, generate standalone graphs function, as well as the possibility to generate, inspect, and debug from the graph editor with a standalone graph debug object. It seems interesting. Custom data types. Since its initial release, the list of supported data types in the PCG framework has been hard-coded, preventing easy addition and support of new data types when extending the framework or creating interrupts with external plugins. With 5.7, it is now possible to add support for any custom data type within the types hierarchy and expand the framework or use the framework core and feature set to build your own tool on top. The type selector can be upgraded as well to be better indicate types of relationships and allow for multi-selection. Okay, polyline, spline, polygon 2D, landscape spline, base texture, landscape. We can customize this. I mean, or is this the full list? You can just check specific ones. Is that all they're saying? Or you can add to this list. I don't fully understand. If you can add to this list whatever you want, like you put an array or a struct actually as a thing, that'd be amazing. But I don't think that's what this means. Based on this picture, it seems like you just say you can output this, and this, maybe. We'll play around with it. See, Polygon 2D data type and operators. A new Polygon 2D data type has been added to the list of supported data types in the PCG framework. Polygon 2D are useful to represent areas as a closed shape, which can be converted to surfaces or spline data or sampling or for specific operations. I mean, it definitely looks just like a bunch of splines. Okay. A set of new operators were added to support this new data type. Create Polygon 2D takes in as input point or spline data and turns them into Polygon 2D. Allow polygon to polygon operations such as intersection, union, and differences. Additionally, Polygon 2D can be cut with paths using splines to subdivide or isolate a shape, like slicing a larger area using spline data in a grid pattern to create individual city blocks or city generator graph. I mean, definitely seems cool, because you can see here, I mean, I don't know if these were cut out, but this could have been a cutout from like a bigger thing, and everywhere this path is, this mint line, has been cut, possibly. That's what that's showing. Clip paths allowed to intersect or different splines with Polygon 2D shape. Offset polygon applies an offset to the Polygon 2D to make them larger or smaller with proper handling of overlaps, and creates surface from Polygon 2D. We'll turn the Polygon 2D into a surface that can be sampled using surface sampler node to create points over this area. So this is nice. This is going to be nice. I know immediately that people are going to ask me to make a city builder using this. Just because you have the splines doesn't mean you can just create a building that works and it makes sense easily and automatically. So yes, this is a first step to making it easier though. GPU fast geo interrupt. PCG GPU now leverages fast geometry components to further improve on game thread performances when using the framework to generate and spawn high density of static meshes such as ground, scatter, and grass by removing the need for any partition actors and local PCG components creation on the fly. To benefit from the improvements, the PCG fast geo interrupt plugin must be enabled in your project and the CVAR. Okay, well, we'll learn about fast geometry later once this actually comes out. Seems cool. As long as it doesn't require HLSL, I will look into it. GPU operators and improvements. New additions to the PCG framework GPU compute feature set. Scene capture. Excuse me? A new node for performing scene captures with the component origin to get and sample a scene color or depth when scattering. Oh, that is really interesting. Oh, that could be really cool. Save texture to asset support. Great. So you can do a scene capture and just save it in PCG, which is cool. Support for overrides. Parameter overrides are now support on GPU nodes, including number of element counts for custom HLSL nodes. Number of elements, if they added, because there's an HLSL node they created that's like create points, and you can specify the number of points in the detail graph. It's not an input. And if they made that an input, they can just pipe in the amount of points I want. That'd be amazing. Because again, I have no idea how to do that myself. I don't know HLSL. Ray tracing. Support sampling the scene through ray tracing. I mean, there's already like ray casts and stuff like that. I guess ray tracing is just another type that does another ray-based thing. I mean, sure. Existing natives operators upgraded with GPU compute support, call points outside actor bounds, and transform points. Cool. UX improvements. As continued UX improvements when working with PCG, these are the latest changes. Parameters and override types, coloring, and validations. Parameters, override pins, constant output pins, and their edges will now all be colored based on their type, matching blueprint type colors, visual language. Nice. When input can be of any type or is undefined, the pin and edge will be using white as its display color. This is great. Yeah, this is really nice. Good change. I appreciate this. Parameters, min, max, and unit values. Graph parameters can now be configured with min, max values. Nice. Having a min, max value you can put in for your parameters is really good, because that's definitely one thing that I felt was missing. Data viewport controls. Additional in-graph editor data viewport controls and options were added to help previewing data in specific context. I like improvements. New nodes and operators. Hold on, let's zoom in here. Spline intersection, split spline. Okay, I've wanted this one. Get segment. We'll read about all of them, but I just want to see them. Create polygon 2D, create surface from polygon 2D, offset polygons, so this is all the polygon stuff. Clip paths, interesting. What is clip polygons? Oh, that's for the polygon stuff, okay. Attribute remap. I mean, what's the attribute remap and just set attribute? Yes, we'll find out once it's out. Extract attribute, that could be good. Getting an attribute that you have on a point is a little bit of clunky. If this just gets me the attribute, perfect. Export selected attributes, we'll see what this exports to. Execute Python script. Oh, great. I don't know HLSL. Maybe Python will be easier to code with. It only has one thing here. As long as there's documentation on how the hell to configure this. Get is listen server. Get has authority. Get is builder. It's probably multiplayer stuff. Add modular. Bitwise shift left. I don't know what bitwise is. Shift left, shift right. Boolean not and. Boolean nor. So different Boolean operations. Cool. And then here's a scene capture, save texture to assets, help, and these are just GPU versions. Okay. Unreal Engine 5.7 also introduces multiple native PCG elements and new options, including spline intersection, finds intersecting splines in 3D and adds control points at intersections or returns intersection points. Oh, that is going to be so good, because that will allow to do like road intersections so much easier. My God. If you want to have like an actual road and have things like intersect, oh, spline intersection is gonna be great. Split splines, divide splines into multiple splines based on alpha, distance, or key or control points predicate. So if you can do by control point and then distance together, you can basically have an intersection and just say, hey, cut out this area where this intersection model is. So this together could be very good for like roads. Get segment returns a segment index point or spline from a point, spline or polygon 2D. Yeah, this is all really cool. Spawn spline mesh component overrides. Component class is now respected when spawning the spline mesh and added support for component property overrides in the spline mesh node. Nice. Very good. New PCG blueprint element classes. Added new PCG element classes including range-based overridable functions to support structure of array format changes introduced in native nodes in 5.6. Using the new elements will prevent extra data transformations and improve performance when working with BP PCG elements. I don't fully understand, but it says improve performance. Yay. Some of this stuff needs actual context, like when you're inside the actual editor, right, and playing with them. Get execution context. Updated with is listener server, has authority, and is builder context support. I think this is multiplayer. I'm not sure. Extract attribute. Retrieves a specific attribute at the given index and outputs it as a new attribute set. Oh, this is not what I thought. Add a specific index. Well, we can already do like get attribute from point index. What's the difference here? Because we can already get the attribute that way. I mean, there's already delete attribute, but what if I want to get specifically like position.z, you know, whatever. But I guess you can do that. You can do that anyway. I feel there's already ways of doing this, or I'm not understanding. Export selected attributes. Exports data as a binary or JSON format for external use cases such as ML applications. Cool. I'm sure the people who use those applications are going to be happy. Attribute remap can now be driven by a curve Oh, that's why attribute remap is interesting. You can drive it by a curve. Bitwise operates added shift left and shift right. I don't know what bitwise is. Compares two bit patterns of equal length, performing a logical OR operation on each pair of corresponding bits. A, B, 0, output 0. 1, 1, 0. So is this just a an XOR this or this, but it's an exclusive OR? Is this not just an exclusive OR, but it's called bitwise for some reason? An exclusive OR, if I recall, well, any of them can be set to true, but as soon as another one is true, then it becomes false, because you can only have one true, which is basically what this is, right? Only one can be true. As soon as multiple are true, it becomes false. Boolean operations: added, NAND, NOR, XNOR, imply, nimply, an automatic casting to Boolean from bitwise. Yeah, casting to Boolean from bit. Okay, you know, I don't fully understand bitwise, but I mean, yay to more Boolean operations. I say that, but I've never used any of these. My brain is not good enough for any of these. Math operations: new add modular operation was added, useful to offset and reorder the indices. And reorder the okay, we'll need to figure out what this add modulo actually is doing, if it's reordering the indices and doing an offset. Okay, we'll play around with that. Bounds for mesh and points for mesh. Added support for skeletal meshes. Added support for skeletal meshes from a points from mesh means you could theoretically spawn things on a character. The problem is it wouldn't be attached to the bones, most likely. So as long as the character is not moving, you can spawn flowers on them or something. I mean, it's cool. The really cool stuff, I think, is the spline stuff. Python, separate one just for Python. Python interrupt plugin. A new PCG plugin to run Python scripts while executing the graphs through a new execute Python script node. The Python script can be provided directly as an input or ran from a file on the disk. That is ran from a file from the disk. Now that is interesting. The path to the file can be dynamically set through an override soft object path attribute or parameter. Very interesting. We'll play with AI on that one because I don't know how to do it. But that's it. That's all of PCG. There's very little, honestly, for PCG. Like, yeah, there's the editor mode, there's the vegetation, and like there, yeah, the polygon 2D. There's not that much here. A little sad. Developer iteration. Incremental cooking. Incremental cooking enables you to iterate faster on your target devices by reducing overall cooking time. Yay. Cooking process automatically analyzes asset changes against outputs stored in Zen server. Only cook new updates made to your project's assets. This works across all native engine assets, including blueprints and world partition tiles. Nice. If it improves baking time, I'm all for it. Audio waveform. Ooh, audio waveform editor. You mean I don't have to use Audacity to just edit the audio? Often designers need to go back and forth from UE when working with audio assets. To help their workflow, Unreal Engine 5.6, I think this is supposed to say 5.7, we're adding the display of markers and loop regions from imported sound files. This includes additional quality of life improvements to expand the wave editor to be sufficiently featured so that sound designers can stay within UE editor for common audio editing tasks. If I can edit it and like cut out a section or something, then cool. Otherwise, if I just preview it, then less cool. Editor, AI assist. They put frigging AI into Unreal Engine. Oh, that is hilarious. The reason I say this is hilarious is because there are currently plugins you can buy for like $200 that do literally this, I think. This one's probably gonna be better than anything anyone else could possibly do because it's gonna probably have more information than you can read than anything else, is my guess. We'll see. We'll definitely test this thoroughly. The question is, can it read the project, what's there, and things of that nature? Like if I asked it, hey, I forget where I implemented this, could it find it? If it gives me general stuff that I can already look up myself somewhere else with no extra information, this is useless. The AI system gives you a faster way to get answers without leaving Unreal Engine. By sliding out a dedicated panel in the editor, you can ask questions, generate code, or follow step-by-step guidance, all without switching to a browser. You can save time and stay in flow. Instead of breaking concentration, search online. You can get instant help, examples, and troubleshooting tips right inside the editor. What you can do is offer step-by-step instructions by task, get guidance and tips directly in context, troubleshoot development topics with AI help, generate code examples to accelerate workflows, reference past exchanges with chat history, copy and paste answers seamlessly into your project. Again, if I'm like, where do I calculate damage and health? And if you can find that and tell me where that is, great. Otherwise, if it's no different than me me going to like Grok or something and being like, hey, how do I do this? The main thing that it needs to do very well is be able to search. If it cannot search, it is useless. It has access to search from my understanding, but how good is the search is the real thing, not whether it has it. There's some plugins that are on Fab right now that are gonna go bye-bye because of that. I'll be honest, this is a pretty small update. There's not much here, or it feels like not much here. Like if we go back to 5.6, right, this is 5.6. Even like in the world building and PCG, like there's more stuff here. And 5.5 felt bigger than 5.6, right? This is 5.7, so there's very little here in comparison. There's some cool stuff, but nothing to write home about, nothing to get like, oh my god, I must have 5.7. 5.6, the biggest thing was performance, if anything. Is this the smallest PCG section since what? Since here. Since 5.3, which is basically baby PCG. 5.3 was the smallest section of PCG, and this is the smallest PCG section since 5.3. Because this is not an update, right? Keep in mind, this is not up. This is telling you it's now no longer an experimental. There's some cool stuff, but nothing I'm like must have.